All right, guys, back on Southeastern 16 with Max Barr previewing another big matchup in SEC basketball on Saturday. Texas A&M, number 12 in the country, at number 3 Florida, 7:30 p.m. Central Time, prime time on the SEC network for this matchup. Max, these two teams both ranked in the top 12 in the country. However, both not feeling like top 12 teams after the midweek, as they did not exactly have success. Florida loses at Georgia 88-83. Bulldogs led by as many as 26 in that game. Meanwhile, Texas A&M now on a 3-game losing streak after losing 86-84 to Vanderbilt on Wednesday. And so these two teams come in feeling like they got something to prove here. Maybe the Aggies a little more so than the Gators. But all of a sudden, a very interesting matchup between two teams that are coming off of losses here and ranked in the top 12.
Yeah, the Aggies dropping 3 straight. They're taking a skid at the wrong time. And you're catching a Florida team who loves playing that game after a loss. They dropped that opening SEC game at Rupp in the 106-100 thriller, one of the best games of the year. They come back home and they beat Tennessee by 30. Well, they dropped the home game to Missouri, the only home game that the Gators have lost this year. They respond on the weekend with a 24-point drill into Texas. Okay, the Gators lose at Tennessee. They respond with an 11-point win over Vandy. They've played 3 games. They've lost, 4 games, but they lost 3 before that one, and they responded with 3 double-digit victories in response on all of them. If there's one thing the Gators have proven this year, Blake, it's that they do not take losing lightly, and they've responded pretty well all 3 times before here. Now a 4th at home.
Yep, I think that you said it. We brought that up with them this year that they always respond well, and I feel like that is it's not ideal for A&M because as we mentioned, I mean, this is a Texas A&M team that I mean really has just sort of feel like it's found different ways to lose some of these games, and I think that's where we said this a couple weeks ago. We're like everybody's kind of looking at A&M and being like, all right, well, this is just A&M and look at the style they play and all that. We're like, guys, look at the resume. Like they are, they're number 2 seed level resume and maybe getting close to a 1. Remember, they were the 6th overall seed at one point where, quite honestly, had they won at Mississippi State and beaten Tennessee at home, then they probably are sitting right there right now. And yet, how quickly your season can sort of change a bit here because now, since that Mississippi State loss, we're sitting here being like, all right, are we doing this again with A&M where it's like just when you think you're all the way bought in, you're all of a sudden really questioning it. And now you've got to question it going into who we also said before the Georgia game was like maybe the favorite to win the national championship. And maybe you could have made the argument they were the number 1 team in the country the way they were playing, in terms of, yes, Auburn still has the better overall body of work. We understand that. But just in terms of momentum and the way they were playing, the Gators were on top of the world. So it's going to be interesting here because, I mean, we talked about the offensive rebounding potential for both these teams. That's obviously a storyline here. Both are going to have chances for second chance opportunities. And when you're Texas A&M, and now, let's just throw out the numbers. They are what they are. 15th in the SEC in effective field goal percentage in conference games. 11th in turnover percentage, 14th in three-point percentage, 15th in two-point percentage, last in free throw percentage. You better find some offensive rebounds if you're going to beat Florida on the road because, as we said, those numbers just do not lend themselves very kindly. And keep in mind, too, we know Florida did not play great defense in that game against Georgia, especially to start the game. But still, statistically, Florida has been pretty solid on that side of the floor. And so I don't think we can discount that idea either as they come back and play a team that has struggled on offense.
Yeah, and A&M struggles when teams can match that rebounding, right? When they don't have that big advantage, and it's kind of not it's tough to neutralize, but if it's just not a big advantage for A&M like it usually is, then it turns to kind of half-court offense on half-court offense. And Blake, you just listed off the percentages. You just listed off the numbers. It doesn't That's why it usually turns into a free throw battle, because every fight for a rebound is 50-50. There's just bodies falling all over the place. Shots aren't being made from the floor, and it gets ugly. Both teams play a pretty similar tempo. However, Florida just is going to want to get out and run a little bit more offensively. It's going to come down to, well, just look at Texas A&M's past 2 games. Chaz Lanier had a just light it up night. Mm-hmm. Tyler Nickel lights it up. Florida's got multiple guys who can do that. Multiple. Even guys off the bench that can come in and do it. So you look at an A&M win on the road at Missouri. Okay. Hey, they've gone on the road and they've beaten one of the best teams in the SEC before. How'd they do that? They held Missouri to 5 of 21 from the 3-point line, only 23%. Won the rebounding battle. Won the turnover battle. That they're going to need to – every box is going to have to get checked for A&M if they're going to pull this one off the road. Got to win the rebounding. Got to hold Florida down on the 3-point line. Everything's got to come together here if the Aggies are going to get this one done.
Max, does it feel like you would probably agree that most people are going to sit here and be like, come on, Florida bounce back spot, Texas A&M is spiraling. This is going to be a complete blowout. I mean, 2 top 12 teams, but you think that probably people are going to be saying that, aren't they? Well, let me tell you this. What if I told you, ESPN 30 for 30 style, that in the last, this is wild, 6 games that these 2 teams have played, okay? What if I told you that not a single game has been decided by more than 5 points?
What?
95-90 last year in the SEC tournament. 67-66 in College Station last season. 54-52 in College Station the season before. 66-63 in Gainesville that same season. 83-80 overtime in 2022 in the SEC tournament. 56-55 in College Station that season in 2022. They played 6 times the last 3 seasons. Not a single game has been decided by more than 5 points. Only 1 game's been decided by more than 3 points. These 2 play to the wire. Now, keep in mind, too, A&M had won 5 in a row before Florida beat them in that stretch. So of those 6 games, A&M had won them. They had played these games. Most lower scoring, as I mentioned the scores, and been able to work their magic a bit, right? Well, maybe a little different this year. Florida's offense, as we said, is a bit on a different level now. Top 4 offensive team in the country. But just keep that in mind as you're going into this game and wondering, all right, how's this going to play out? These 2 have played very close games. And again, there's been a coaching change in recent years in Gainesville, but for whatever reason, Buzz Williams and his teams play the Gators close one way or the other.
It's funny you bring that up, because this game does have that feeling of the cliche, the why even play the game? It's already decided. We already know who won the game. Look at the 2 spots. Look at the way the teams are playing lately. Mm-hmm. Florida's going to be projected a 10-point favorite. So why even play this game? It's already over. Oh, man. And the reason why it could be a little bit more tricky than that, Blake, is I mentioned the Florida 3-point shooting. Florida also tends to foul a little bit. Not anything crazy, but in a game where, I don't know, you're playing the hardest you've played all year after you've dropped 3 games in a row. I'm talking about the Aggies, and you've got a chance here to just everyone's talking about you. You're falling back. You had the 6 overall seed in the first committee release. Everyone is getting on you. What better way to right all the wrongs of the past week and a half by going into Gainesville, grabbing a win, and shutting up everybody? Well,
all right.
Dirk Phelps can play defense. Solo Washington can play defense. Andy Garcia is going to be on my all-defensive team.
Mm-hmm.
But you know who else is going to be? Mr. Elijah Martin. If there was a team for just being the best player of all time, Tommy H would be on it. If there was a team for being the best next best player of all time, Denzel Aberdeen, would be on it. Give me the Gators at home. If A&M wins this thing, will I be shocked? Yes. I do not think they're going to win this game. I think Florida, I'm joking aside, guys. I like to have my fun with the Aggies. I don't see how they do it. I know Blake brought up the history. Florida's going to be able to match the rebounding. They've got the more consistent offense. Maybe A&M forces a bunch of turnovers, makes it ugly. I don't know. Give me the Gators.
That's the path I would explore. If A&M wins this game, I think it's just forcing turnovers and really disrupting what Florida can do offensively. Because here's the thing, too. As we know, the Gators can get hot from three. And when you look at A&M's losses in SEC play, I mean, one of the recipes has been teams just shooting the ball pretty well against them or making threes, right? Alabama made 13 against them. Kentucky made 9. Texas made 8. Mississippi State made 9. Tennessee made 13. Vanderbilt made 10 the other night. So I think Florida will have their opportunities to knock down threes. And I feel like, as I always say, I just don't – I'd love to know the stat this year for A&M in games where they are behind. And how are what is their path to get back into a game? Because it's not as simple as them just coming out and making shots consistently, because that just doesn't happen. So that's my worry for them in this matchup. Florida comes out, filling the crowd early, hits some shots, and all of a sudden A&M is just completely having to change how they play. And I don't think that's great for them. So I'm picking the Gators too in this matchup. Don't be shocked, though. As I said, given the series history, don't be shocked if it's closer than people expect.
I would be.
Max would be. Tell you what Max is not shocked about. That's the greatness of bracket bids, because bracket bids going to take your college hoops experience to the next level this March. Enter into the free pick'em contest. Start that auction draft league with your friends, family, coworkers. Everyone starts with the same bidding dollars. You get to outwit and outbid your league mates to secure the teams you think will go the distance. Choose from multiple scoring models, including the upset bonuses to reward those bold picks. You can track your teams with live in-game scoring. You can watch the standings shift in real time. Further they advance, the higher you climb the standings. That's how it works. For league play, use that promo code SC16 for 40% off. SC16, 40% off. Download the Bracket Bids app today or visit them at bracketbids.com. We appreciate you guys watching. We'll have reaction Saturday night after this game. That's probably when the primetime show will begin after Florida and A&M. So be sure to tune in, turn on those notifications, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you soon. Southeastern 16.